My friend Sarah was at my house the other day. We were just hanging out listening to music. She picked a ring up off my nightstand and said, "Ooh, this is so pretty. You should let me borrow it." I told her of course she could borrow it, and that was that. We hung out for about another hour or so, and then she went home. That night, I was feeling around on my end table for my medicine container. I'm blind, just for context. I can't see at all, so I do everything by touch and sound. Anyways, I'm feeling around for my meds when something small falls off the end table and rolls across the room. I really didn't think anything of it. I was tired and didn't feel like getting up and feeling around in the floor, so I said screw it and went to sleep. Next morning, my fiance picks the object up and brings it to me. He tells me he found it in the floor. It's the ring. Later, Sarah called me and I asked her about it. I thought maybe she had forgotten it, but no, she had absolutely no clue what I was talking about. She said I never let her borrow the ring. She never even saw it, never said it was pretty, never mentioned it at all. I thought she was messing with me, but she was serious. It freaked me out so bad I was honestly speechless. It still has me baffled, and that's been over a week ago. It sounds silly now that I'm typing it out, but I know I remember her asking me about that darn ring. So yeah, pretty sure I experienced a glitch in the Matrix.
This story happened to me several years ago when I was in college. I originally posted it on Quora, but after getting banned, I found this subreddit and thought it belonged here. This story does involve a phone, but it's not a tech glitch. But if I am wrong, the mods are welcome to remove it. So my high school friend and I lived in the same hostel and attended the same college. One night, as I was unwell, I called her and said I won't be going to class the next morning, so she could leave without me. We talked for a while about some college stuff, and then I hung up. For context, I am a night owl, so in no way was I feeling sleepy. Just to be sure, I sent her a message saying the same. The next day, when I was hanging around in her room, I mentioned the phone call, and she said she never talked to me. She told me she had been asleep at that time. I was confused and insisted that we had spoken as I remembered it clearly. But she said the call must have connected to someone else. I said that that's not possible because I recognized her voice clearly and we talked about things only she would know. I even suggested that she might have been talking in her sleep. But then her roommate, my cousin, chimed in and said no, my friend was absolutely asleep the entire time. She had seen her and she definitely didn't talk in her sleep. At this point, I was completely shocked. I opened my call logs to show her the call, but to my disbelief, the call had connected to my friend, but the duration was only 0 seconds. And yet, the message I sent right after that call was still there. To this day, I have no explanation. I genuinely feel like I talked to a version of my friend from a parallel timeline. It's not the most dramatic glitch compared to some stories here, but it's definitely one of the strangest things that has ever happened to me.
I thought I'm going crazy. Then I came across this sub, read some posts, and calmed myself down a little bit. This was the scariest and most confusing thing that has ever happened to me. About 3 days ago, I was finishing my workout session from the gym and I went straight home. It was a little bit late, around 10:30 p.m., and on the way home, gym's nearby, so I'm walking back on foot, I came across a stray cat that's pretty friendly, and from the looks of it, hungry. It followed me, and I thought, why the hell not feed it? When we arrived home, I saw my brother through the kitchen window. I was going to ask him to bring me the cat food, or any meat he could find in the house, because if I leave the cat alone even for a minute, it might leave. But since my brother was eating at the time, I didn't want to bother him. So I let the cat inside the hallway and left it there.
First thing that came across my mind is to return the weightlifting belt that I borrowed from my brother. So I went to his room real fast. As I opened the door, I thought the room was empty, and I just threw the belt on the floor. Well, it was, in fact, not empty. My brother, startled from the noise, instantly woke up. I turned on the light and I asked him, "Did you just went from eating to sleeping in literally half a minute?" I was already a little bit shocked, even scared, because I knew that's already impossible. Man, he could barely open his eyes, let alone speak. I immediately realized he was sleeping for a while. So I apologized for waking him up and just left the room. As I was going through the hallway, my heart was pounding. I knew I saw my brother crystal clear in the kitchen a minute ago. So as I'm entering the kitchen in panic mode, there was no one at the table. There wasn't even food on the table that I saw him eating, nor the plate that was in front of him. The shirt I saw him wearing was the same shirt he wore that day. There was no one in the kitchen. So I thought, maybe that was my mother who was sitting instead. There's no other explanation. She was in the room next to it, with the door open, watching a TV show. I went there and I asked her, "Were you in the kitchen a few minutes ago?" She said, "No, I wasn't. I heard you enter the house, but there was no noise in the past hour. There was no noise coming from the kitchen at all." That was the moment I was truly scared. Although very curious, my thoughts were all over the place that night. I slept with my lights on. And before anyone asks me, it didn't stop me from feeding the stray cat, LOL. Day after I told my bro everything, he just laughed at it. But I know what I saw. I am 100% sure.
2.5 weeks ago, my dog passed away unexpectedly. I've admittedly taken it really hard. About a week ago, I was alone in my house for the first time since his passing. I'm married and we have 4 children, plus I work a lot, so it is rare I am home alone. For whatever reason, I decided to go lay down in bed for a few minutes. I walked upstairs and closed my door. My dog's bed used to be literally right outside my bedroom door, as it is the end of a hallway, so I've heard him walk up the stairs and to his bed thousands of times before. As I'm laying there, I hear small steps on the stairs, like his. We live in a 50-year-old house and the stairs creak, so I was quite surprised to hear the stairs as I was alone. Then I hear the steps get to the top of the stairs, and I hear his claws clacking on the wood floor and stopping in front of my door/his bed. I started calling out, "Hello? Hello, is someone there?" No response. I jump out of bed and run to the door. Nothing there. I went downstairs and all the doors were still locked. My wife keeps telling me I'm just grieving, and the mind is a powerful thing, but I'm sure of what I heard, and I'm getting chills even as I write this. Am I losing my mind?
This happened back in late 2020. I was taking my daughter to get new glasses at the optical shop we always go to. We know the staff pretty well since we've been customers for a long time. Because of COVID restrictions, we had to wait in line outside the store. I looked inside and saw a tall man with a beard standing at the counter. This seemed weird to me because it's always the same woman working there. The line moved forward, and we walked past a pillar that blocked our view of the shop for just a few seconds. By the time we cleared the pillar and I looked inside again, the man I had just seen was gone. It was just the usual woman standing there. I was totally shocked. I asked my daughter if she saw the same thing, and she confirmed that I wasn't crazy. She saw him too. The shop doesn't have anywhere he could have gone or hidden, especially not in that short amount of time. We were inside for quite a while buying the glasses, and the man never appeared. I probably should have asked about him, but honestly, I was too embarrassed to say anything.
I was home alone yesterday when this happened. I walked from the bathroom to the bedroom and sat my phone at the foot of the bed. I went to the kitchen to get a drink and came straight back to the bedroom. My phone wasn't there. Also on the foot of the bed was a piece of paper. So I picked it up and looked under it for my phone, but it wasn't there. The piece of paper was the only thing on the bed. No problem. Maybe I had left the phone in the bathroom. So I walked back and checked. No phone. Came back to my bedroom, and there is my phone on the bed on top of the piece of paper I had just lifted and looked under. Also, it was just a thin piece of paper. It wouldn't have held the weight of the phone. How did this happen?
So, to set the scene, I've been using the same lighter now for at least 2 or 3 months. I smoke cigarettes. It's a blue Bic lighter with the back label torn off. Now, it's not the only lighter that I own. I have maybe 2 more, but they are either deep in a desk drawer or deep in some random book bag that's not easily accessible and can't be grabbed by mistake. So my blue lighter is the only lighter I use day in and day out, and I always set it in the same exact spot when I get home, and I keep it in the same exact pocket when I go out or go to work. So today, while at work, about 5 or 6 hours in, I go outside to smoke and realize I lost my lighter. The last place I used it was at Subway on my lunch break about an hour and a half before. Mind you, I've been smoking all day, a few before work and a few before my lunch break. So when I realize I don't have my lighter, I figure I must have lost it at Subway because it stays falling out my pocket, except this time I didn't realize it. So I bought a new green one. But the glitch is when I get home and go into my room, my blue lighter I have been using for months is sitting right there where I always place it. It's blowing my mind because, so what lighter have I been using all day? Yes, I have a couple other lighters, but I couldn't even tell you where they exactly are. If I had a gun to my head with 30 seconds to find where those other lighters are, I'd be dead. And wherever they are, I for sure have not gone in that drawer or bag anytime recently. So if I did not grab my blue lighter today, where exactly did I pick up this mysterious lighter? If it was a different one, I feel I would have noticed it was a different color at some point in the day. And I know for damn sure I don't have 2 blue lighters with the label torn off. Now, rational thought will tell you that I must have picked up a different lighter today before leaving. It's the only rational explanation. But I keep my lighter, cigs, headphones, and wallet all in the same place for when I leave and get back. So why would I pick everything else up and not the lighter? And more important, where did I pick this other lighter up at? It just makes no sense. The glitch in the Matrix mind tells you that I took my regular lighter with me like I always do, and sometime after my lunch break, it teleported back to my room right to where I always keep it. And another crazy thing is, what are the odds that the one day that I lose my lighter, I don't ever lose anything, same wallet since 12 years old and I'm 28 now, the one single day I've ever lost my lighter is also the one day I happen to subconsciously not grab my regular lighter and must have picked up a different one, which again is almost impossible because there are no other lighters laying around. I just can't wrap my head around it. Even knowing there is a rational explanation, it just doesn't make sense.
As promised in my first post on this forum, my stepdad's 2 voices, here's the second strange glitch in the Matrix that somewhat involved my mom, this time a lot more directly. So, it was the year 2007, or maybe it was 2008. Regardless, it was a long time ago. And I needed new clothes, so my mom and I decided, on a very gloomy and overcast day, to take a trip to the newly opened Chinese store to buy some new clothes for me, where they would probably be cheaper.
So we start strolling around this large department store filled with cheap merchandise of dubious origin, while picking up articles of clothing that might interest me. We found a couple neat pairs of trousers and a couple shirts, so my mom tells me to go change and that she'll be with me right away. So I step inside the small, dimly lit changing room, and I start taking off the pair of trousers that already belonged to me to then put on the new one we had just picked up. I'm about halfway done putting on the new trousers. They're still around my thighs, when all of a sudden, clack, 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 the changing room curtain that separated me from the rest of the store starts moving. 3 violent, jerky, and yet very rhythmic motions, as though someone had been pulling it in a very specific way. I perked up, a little scared, thinking I had just fallen victim to a pervert of some kind, not to mention the sudden noise startled the hell out of me. But even before the curtains were completely out of the way, before the last violent pull, who do I see? My mom, standing there, with her arms folded. She wasn't even touching the curtain, and yet somehow it was moving. I was dumbfounded. I peeked my head out of the small, dimly lit changing room to see if someone else had been pulling at the curtain, or maybe if it got caught into something and that's why it was moving so strangely. Nothing. At my left, the direction from where it was supposedly being pulled, was a man who was busy helping his son out with something and wasn't even looking in my direction. Besides, if he had tried to open the curtain to have an unsolicited look at me, don't you think that my mom would have something to say about it? Instead, she was just standing there, arms crossed, and staring into my soul. Before I could even say anything, she took a quick step forward. All right, let's have a look at those trousers. At first, I didn't get a chance to mention the strange occurrence to her, but by the time we had gotten back in the car, I asked her, back when I was in the changing room, the curtain started moving suddenly and in a very weird way, and when it moved, I saw you standing there and you weren't even touching it. How'd you do that? And my mom responded how she always does when something incredibly odd occurs that involves her. She responded just like she would respond years later when my stepdad somehow grew a second voice. You guessed it. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. And that's the second very strange event that occurred in my life that, to this day, I still cannot for the life of me explain. The strangest thing is that in both instances, my mom was involved. So maybe that's my first clue.
So this really messed me up. By my door is a small side table, and on that I keep a letter opener. When I get home, any mail on the doormat I open there and then. The letter opener has been on that side table for maybe 6 years. I'm the type of guy who runs his house as a place for everything and everything in its place. It means I never lose anything. Well, the other day I got home from work and picked up the mail on the doormat. I absentmindedly turned to the side table to get the letter opener, and it's not there. Obviously, it must have fallen off the side table. Perhaps I slammed the door too hard and it caused it to fall off, blah, blah, blah. Well, I hunt high and low around the area and it is nowhere to be found. I figure it's there somewhere and I just can't find it, so head into my living room. I make dinner, watch TV, unwind, the usual. It goes from my mind. I retire to my bedroom, and the letter opener is there in the middle of my bed, on top of the duvet. I live alone and have no recollection of taking it into the bedroom, and not putting something back where it belongs is not something I would do. I certainly can't think why I'd place it on top of the bedspread after I made it that morning. I thought, well, maybe I sleepwalked, but the bed was made, so I must have put it there when I was awake. But my mail is there in the evening when I get home from work, not when I wake up in the morning. I leave the house before the mail arrives.
I have no explanation for how it got there, and it's driving me mad. Any ideas?
So, I've had random glitches before, but this is the first since joining this sub, and I'm genuinely so confused. And I wanted to know if anyone else has had experience with money that you've just spent randomly reappearing. So this morning, I got paid £400 in cash for a job. I grabbed a £20 and met up with a friend at a Christmas market. That was the only cash I had with me. I'm 100% sure of that. I had one of the stall holders break up the £20 for me and give me a £5, £10, and a few £1 coins. I spent £1 at her stall, then carried on around the market. By the time we finished, I had spent the entire £20. Just as we were leaving, I put my hand in my jacket pocket and pulled out another £20. But the thing is, I think it was the same one. I can't prove it, but it had a similar crease to the one I grabbed this morning. Either way, I have no idea where it came from. I wore my jacket all day yesterday, and there was definitely no £20 notes in any of the pockets. I thought I must have grabbed two £20 from my pay, but I've just got back and checked, and nope, there is still £380 where I left it. And now I'm back to £400 again. When I pulled it out of my pocket, I got this weird deja vu feeling, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out where it came from. This might not seem like a big deal, but I am extremely money conscious and have pretty extreme spending anxiety. I have been worrying a lot about having enough after end-of-year expenses, so £20 isn't nothing to me. I hate it when things happen and I can't explain them. Not that I'm complaining for basically getting free Christmas gifts, but how the heck has this happened? Is this a common occurrence? Does anyone have any insight? Am I going crazy, or was this actually a glitch?